Well, good morning. How's everybody doing? All right, well, the people in the front are pumped. That's awesome. Okay, who was squealing for Justin Bieber? All right, we love everybody here. And we are so glad that you are here. My name is Bill. I'm the lead pastor here. And if you're just joining us, you're new, we're so glad. Please let us introduce ourselves to you. Just let us know by going to the great big blue wall or finding someone in a blue shirt. If you're watching online, hey, let us know where you're watching from. Just yesterday, I did a wedding, and a guy from North Carolina got married to someone from here. They met at Harvard, and he has been watching us online. So it was the first time I ever met him live at his wedding. It was awesome. So North Carolina, keep watching. And Harvard University, keep watching. That's awesome. Yeah, so that's our love to you. And yeah, if we can serve you in any way, let our online pastor know. It is so good to be home. Thanks for letting us go for a few weeks of holidays. We were in Alberta with my youngest son, who is going into his third year of Bible school, and he's a potato farmer. So that's what he's been doing, learning all about those little tiny potatoes you buy and love, and so he's going to be growing those this year for you. So when you eat those, think of him. And then we got to go to BC, where my daughter and son-in-law are now pastoring, and so got to sit in a service where she was leading worship. Of course, she was amazing, but it was just really great. So thank you. And of course, we have our team taking this season to rest, and I hope you are too. And actually, that's what this sermon is all about. This series is about how to find rest. Because let's be honest, as North Americans, we are terrible at this. We are terrible at rest, right? Here's what we do. I mean, let me ask you in this way. When was the last time you actually had a day off? Yeah, exactly. 6 years. That's good for you. I mean, it's like literally a day off. I'm not talking about you didn't go to work, because here's what we do. We replace what we're going to do at work with work at home, right? Isn't that true? I mean, how many of you have a honey-do list, have your own do list, have expectations? Every time you get any kind of time off, you fill it with other stuff. It's like even me on my holidays. It was great, but I needed to come home because I was exhausted, right? It's like every day you're doing stuff. Here's the thing about us North Americans. We love our stuff. So we go to work so we can get stuff. And then we try to fit in our house, and our house isn't big enough. So we got to get a bigger house. We got to get storage units to put all of our stuff. And then we realize, man, we could get more stuff. And so we go to work to get our stuff, to take care of our stuff on our weekends, like mowing the lawn, and right? No wonder we're stuffed. It's just overwhelming. And so in the middle of all of that, how do we find rest? And today, I'm super excited because I want to show you that it's possible for you to experience rest every day of your life. So this series is called Vacay Mode, and I got thinking about the word vacation. Maybe you don't know where it came from, but here's where it came from. It's an English word that we took from Latin, and it was originally used in the British school system. So it was used in a time when kids would go to boarding school, and they realized that for students, their minds could only absorb so much, so they would vacate boarding school to give their mind a rest so they could go back and learn some more. It was what we called a vacation. It wasn't just stopping something, it was actually intentionally resting your mind. Then doctors picked up on this and realized that our bodies can only carry on at a certain pace for a certain amount of time. So they suggested people go on vacations to give their body a rest. But we haven't done that very well, have we? I mean, how many of our vacations do we actually rest our minds and rest our bodies? Not really well. I mean, I was water skiing, I was golfing, I was climbing up mountains, I was riding bikes in Stanley Park. It was great, but it wasn't rest. And where did the British get this idea from, this word from? Well, they actually borrowed it from an ancient idea. It's an ancient idea, thousands of years old, and it was actually introduced in the Bible. It was a day called the Sabbath. And it was a day that maybe you don't think a lot about, but if you were a slave, it was a radical concept. So for the people who first heard this word Sabbath, they lived in a world where most of the world were slaves. And when you're a slave, you don't get days off. You don't get anything off. You work literally 365 days a year from the time the sun comes up to the sun comes down. You're at the beck and call of somebody else all of your life. And so when God sets them free from Egypt, he introduces this idea of rest. That there is a way to experience a rejuvenation of your mind, your body, and more importantly, the very essence that is you, your spirit or your soul. And this is so important that Jesus actually practiced this as well. What we're going to learn today is that the purpose of rest is not the cessation of activity, but rather it's rejuvenation of your mind, body, and spirit. And so Jesus knew this. So here's the story in Mark chapter 6. Jesus is a pretty big deal. I don't know if you've been introduced to him or if you've ever read any of his sermons, but they're all here in the Bible, and they're amazing. There is not a single person on this planet, I think, that would argue that Jesus said some of the most profound, beautiful, powerful things. And because of it, people came to him like they just flocked to him. He was like literally as big as the Beatles in his day. People were coming from all over. They would travel days to see him. And it was exhausting. People had demands and expectations. And so one day, this is what we read in Mark 6:31. Then because so many people were coming and going, they did not even have a chance to eat. Now, confession time. How many of you skip meals because you're working? Right? You're too busy to even eat. Well, that's where Jesus was. You're not the first one to feel overwhelmed. You're not the first person to be overworked. Jesus felt that, and so how does he respond? He says to his disciples, his followers, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and rest." Now, obviously the Bible wasn't written in English. We've translated it, and some of the words are lost in translation. So this word rest is actually two words that have been put together. It means to pause. That's the last part of the compound word. But the first part of the word is to process. What Jesus was inviting us into was the ability to pause long enough to process so that we could be healthy in our mind, in our body, and in our soul. But Jesus didn't just stop doing things. There was something intentional that he did while he rested. And it's what I want to talk to you about today, because the coolest thing about this is that no matter what your background, no matter how much money you make every year, no matter what has happened to you in your life, every one of you in this room and every one of you watching online can access what I'm about to teach in a way that I promise you will transform your life. And it won't take very much time. It's the power of prayer. Now, I know, immediately some of you are already going, okay, tune out. I don't want to hear this. Because you grew up learning about prayer and probably in an incorrect way. For you, prayer is an obligation, a burden. You don't know what to say. Maybe you don't know how to pray. You're frustrated because you saw people pray and you thought, oh, I could never pray like that. I'm not spiritual enough. I'm not good enough. Listen, we're going to shatter all of those lies. We're going to actually re-engage with what prayer really was meant to be. And that actually it's a mechanism, the most powerful mechanism for you to find rest. It's so powerful that neuroscience, scientists are actually discovering people who pray and meditate are actually healthier, literally. They don't know why, they don't know how, they can just observe it, because that's what science does. It only observes what is. They have lower blood pressure, it slows down their heart rate. They're discovering that their minds are more active, more creative, that they're able to solve problems more quickly. They're less depressed and anxious. This is the science of what I'm telling you. So here's the deal. Maybe you didn't know what you were signing up for today. Maybe you just come because you do it every week. I love you. Thank you for doing that. Maybe you came because someone has been begging you and you said, okay, fine, I'll come. Maybe you stumbled across us online. I don't know how you got here, but here's what I know. That what we're about to learn is something that could change your life. And you can do it every day in a few minutes every day. That to me is worth something. And so we're going to unpack that. So his disciples see him go away, and he did this often. If you read the story, he would be preaching and teaching, and then all of a sudden he would just go away because he knew he needed this rest. But he didn't just rest, he prayed. And I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but the disciples are going to ask him to teach them to pray. Now think about it this way. The disciples had prayed all their life, right? Okay, they grew up in church, like maybe many of you did. They had heard all kinds of prayers by the priests. They had prayers in what they had in their Bible, the Old Testament. So why would they ask him to learn how to pray? I'll tell you why. Because they'd learned wrong. Because it wasn't working for them. Maybe like you, they were frustrated because they said, I tried that once and it didn't work. Come on, confession time. Let's be honest. You asked God for something and he didn't deliver. Right? Come on. That's never happened to you? Of course it has. Or you asked for a situation or circumstance to be changed and it didn't. You tried prayer. Or maybe you said, I'm going to commit myself to praying, and you found your mind wandering. You couldn't focus. You couldn't concentrate. And so here's the problem. If you don't learn this incredibly powerful principle the right way, you're either going to end up frustrated with God because he didn't show up the way you thought he should, or frustrated with yourself because obviously something's wrong with me. Because here's what you've been taught. You've been taught that if you prayed the right way, you said the right words, you got the right posture, whatever you did, you were a good person, God would be obligated to do what you ask. And that's a lie. So Jesus is going to teach them how to pray. It says one day Jesus was praying in a certain place, and when he finished, one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us to pray. So they see something in him. Like he comes out of these moments of rest and he's like energized and fired up and he's sharp. They see him leave tired and exhausted and worn down. The Bible says that. He got tired, he got hungry, he even gets frustrated, he gets sad. But he'd come out of these times of rest and there was something different. And they said, we need some of that. Like whatever you're doing, we need that. And I realize I need it too. And so Jesus gives us a prayer that always works. I'm about to teach you a prayer that always works. Now, he starts in Matthew chapter 6 by telling us how not to pray. And this is equally as important as learning how to pray. In Matthew chapter 6, in verse 5, here's what Jesus says. He says, okay, I'll teach you. He says, but first you need to know what not to do. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites. Now, this word is not just a word that's used to people who go to church. Hypocrites simply means anybody. I don't care what religious background, whether you're an atheist, agnostic, have faith or not. A hypocrite simply means someone who says one thing and does another. Hypocrites are all over the world, so let's just get that out, okay? And it's like when you were growing up and your mom or dad said, just do what I say, not what I do. That's a hypocrite. Okay, anyway, so a hypocrite can be any one of us. So he said, don't be like that. Don't say one thing and do another, for they love to do what? They love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. So some people pray just to look spiritual. Now, I don't know if you grew up in church like I did, but if you did, chances are pretty good you met somebody who, when they prayed, they became a completely different person. You know what I'm talking about? Like all of a sudden, their voice would lower, right? And all of a sudden, like they spoke in King James. Like they didn't speak, but it's like, thus saith the Lord. You know, it's like who are you and what did you do with my father? Anyway, so it's like, so there would be people who would pray, and maybe you had this too, where someone would pray and you're like, wow, I could never pray because they're just so eloquent, and the people pat them on the back, oh, you're such a good prayer. Jesus says they got their reward. They wanted the attention of people. They wanted to look spiritual. 2 thumbs up, that's what you got. But that's not prayer. But when you pray, he said, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Go to a quiet place. Rest. Slow down. And pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you. And when you pray, do not keep on babbling like pagans. Again, this word pagans simply was a word in reference to anyone who was not, in this context, Jewish. For they think they'll be heard because of their many words. You know, when I was growing up too, it was like, I'd hear a story, oh, I pray 4 hours a day. And I thought, oh, wow, you are so spiritual. And I couldn't figure out how I was going to get 4 hours a day in my life to pray. That's not prayer. That's babbling. I'm not saying if you do pray 4 hours a day, that's awesome, good for you. But that's not what Jesus is talking about. It's not how long you do it or the way you do it or how you sound. There's something deeper. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need even before you ask him. See, here's the problem. If you've been praying, and you'd never say it this way because it kind of sounds rude when you say it out loud, but if you've been praying to manipulate God, it's not going to work. If you've been praying to get what you think you want, it's not going to work. If you've been praying without an understanding that there's something bigger than you, so if you've ever prayed, God, can I just wake up with $1 million under my mattress, okay? Confession, I have done that. Yes, I have literally done that one. If you've ever prayed, can I wake up and that person just disappear off the face of the earth? I don't care how you do it. Could you just be my heavenly hitman right now? I know it's not good. If you've ever prayed that I can get this job, if you've ever prayed that I would pass this test even though I haven't studied a lick, you haven't been praying. You've been pleading, you've been begging, but you're going to be frustrated because God isn't manipulated and God knows what you need, not what you want. Think about it this way. I love analogies because they just help me process, and maybe I'm simple, probably. Anyway, this works for me. So imagine it this way. Imagine you're this wheel. Now, this looks like a pretty good wheel, but if you actually look at it really closely, it's actually warped. And the problem is that most people look pretty good, but if you really knew me, right? Oh, I can be pretty impressive in a job interview. Then you've been working with me for 3 months. Wow. Before marriage? No, I'm not gonna, no. I did not say that. But it's true. Okay, all right. So here's the problem, right? We live our life and we can't figure out why we keep going into the ditch. Like we try to go straight. We try to go the right way, but we can't because we're warped. Now, traditionally, prayer is taught this way. Ask God to change the road conditions. Ask God to change your circumstance. And if you have enough faith, he will. If you have enough faith, God will change those road conditions and your path will be smooth. The problem is you're still broken. Or the other way that we pray is we don't like where God is taking us because he's driving the bike. And we say, God, I don't like this direction. So if you could just get off and let me take control of my life, how's that working out for you? Right? It's going to be okay. And so many of us pray the wrong things. We say, God, please change my circumstance. God, please. Please, God, just let me take control. I don't like where you're going. I don't want to do this. I don't want to go there. But what if, just what if, God actually has you exactly where you're supposed to be, and all he wants to do is straighten out the broken pieces so you can endure the ride. See, I do get it. I'm not insensitive. I understand when you really want God to heal that person you love. I get that. And I do get it when you're broke. I've been there, and you really want God to somehow show up so you can eat. I get that. And I know what it's like to feel like, I don't know if I want to get up tomorrow because I don't like this road and I don't know where I'm going. I get that. But I'm here to tell you that there's a God, and I believe this with everything inside of me, because I've seen it, I've experienced it. There's a God who actually, if you are willing, is going to take you to places you've never seen, have you see things and explore things that are beyond your imagination, that actually he has what's better for you than what you want. I have a bunch of buddies who continually try to get me to cycle. And I refuse because it just looks like a lot of work. But they tell me about the places they've gone and the things they've seen. I was with my daughter and we were on this hike that I thought was pretty rigorous. And then she said, oh yeah, and I climbed that mountain. She said, you should see it from up there, Dad. What if God has something for you just around the corner? What if God actually, yeah, the road is rough, but he knows you can handle it. He knows you can do it because he's taking you somewhere that he's not going to take anybody else. Yeah, I know you maybe don't know where it's going to end up, and it freaks you out, but there's a God who is good. And so what if prayer isn't about changing our circumstances or about manipulating God to do what we think he should, but instead allowing him to change us? And yes, it means he's got to pound out some of the rough edges, and yeah, it means you might feel like your life has been put on pause, you're not moving anywhere for a minute, and maybe you need your tires pumped up a little bit, but if you let him, that's prayer. I've learned in my life that I'm not smart enough to do the things that I feel like I'm supposed to. I don't have enough compassion in my compassion tank, if there is such a thing, to love the way I should. I don't have enough strength to endure some of the things that I feel I'm supposed to do. But what I have learned is that when I position myself, for that's what prayer is, in a place of humility, to say, God, you do what is best in me. I have learned it changes everything. Let me just explain quickly how that works for me. So I've learned every day, one of the first things that I do is I just spend 15 minutes quiet. And I realign my life. I allow in that moment God to show me some things, work out some things. I express my frustrations and my pains and my concerns. And something changes in me. It changes me. So that attitude that I was going to go in, that relationship that I was going to go in fighting, I don't go in fighting anymore because God's going to win the battle. In that situation that I was tempted to be stressed out about because it's too big, like, for example, a building on York Road. Have you seen how big that is? 10 years in the making. You know how stressful that is? But every day I go, God, it's yours. I trust you with the results. It's not mine. It doesn't matter. If it never got built, it would be okay because I'm just going to trust you. With my children, do you think I can force them to be the kind of people I want them to be? No, I just get to guide and direct and help. And the results are on them. When you live in this posture, it takes the pressure off. You see, Jesus said to pray this way, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. It starts by acknowledging that he's the source and you're not. Guess what? You're not the center of the universe. It's okay. It's okay, because we all can't be the center of the universe, and you're pretty thankful the person next to you isn't the center of the universe. So we're not. But there's a God who's greater, and he's our source. So when you get to that place, our Father, you're a good Father. I'm going to trust you. Hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this daily bread. And not only starts by acknowledging the source, it second acknowledges our purpose, that I'm not just a cog in the wheel. I'm not just a victim. See, here's the deal. I don't know what lies you believe about yourself, but you're not a victim. There's a God who has a purpose. And here's what I've learned on some of the roughest terrain in my life. In times where I don't know where God is taking me, when I have trusted him, it has been some of the most beautiful experiences ever. Can I be honest with you? It was in prayer that I knew I was supposed to come here. I had never heard of St. Catherine's in my life. I'm sorry. Now that I'm offended. Now, because I'm with you. I had got told that I'd driven through it on my way to Niagara Falls once. But it was in prayer that I said, God, if this is what you want, I'm in. And man, am I glad I listened. With my kids, when I've had really difficult times, and I wanted to enforce my will. I wanted to do it the way maybe my parents did or the way I thought it should be done. It was in prayer that God said, Bill, back off. It's okay. I got it. They're going to be okay. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. There's times when I've been in a work situation and I try to manipulate the narrative, spin the story so it favors me. You've done it too. So when I tell people, oh yeah, well this is what really happened, it's not really what happened. It's been in prayer. God says, Bill, just own your stuff, be authentic, and don't worry about what other people say. Your value isn't tied to your performance. Your worth isn't tied to what people say about you. It's what I say about you, and you're my son. And let me tell you something about how I feel about my kids. There's nothing that they could ever do that would rob them of my love, ever. And if I, a weak and fickle father, feel that way, how much more does your Heavenly Father feel about what you're going through? Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven, and give us our daily bread. I trust you, God, to take care of me because I can't take care of myself. And lead us not into temptation. He starts this by saying, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. It also acknowledges that I am limited. That not only, God, are you the source, and not only do I have a purpose, but I need your grace because I can't do it without you. And the amazing thing about receiving God's forgiveness is it actually helps you forgive others. Because it's like, yeah, I get it. I make mistakes too. And lead us not in temptation, God. Please, just keep me out of the ditch. God, I don't know necessarily where you're leading me, and that's okay. I'm going to trust you. As hard as it is for me, because I want to be in control, I'm going to trust you. And as much as I want you to change this road to pavement, because I somehow think deceptively that that's going to make me go straight, no, God, I'm just going to trust you. I'm going to trust you to work on me. And I'll let you work on them. And I'll let you work on that situation. And I'll let you work with the government. And I'll let you work with whatever's happening in the world, God. I just want to follow you. That, my friends, is a prayer that always works. Because it changes you. See, prayer is not designed to impose our will on him, but rather to surrender our will to him. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm not trying to tell you how to do anything. I'm just going to ask that you change me so I can get to where you want me to be. And can I just tell, maybe this is new to you. Maybe you're watching for the very first time. God has something unbelievable for you. Your life is not a mistake. You are not an accident. I promise you there is something great inside of you because God made you. I believe that with everything inside of me. And so prayer is saying, God, I'm going to trust you with the destination and the direction and the circumstances. If you think I can go over this gravel path, I'm going to trust you with it. If you think I can go off trail, I'm going to trust you because I want the view that you have for me. See, prayer is powerful because it changes me. It heals my heart. I don't have to fight. It heals my mind. I don't have to be stressed. It heals my soul. Because I know I'm secure. And so if you'd like help in this area, we want to walk with you. We're for you. Man, you know why I do this? Because I want you to win. I just want you to win more than anything else. And so if we could help you, if you're watching online, just interact with our online pastor. If you're here today, there's going to be a prayer team at the front in just a moment. There's also going to be someone at the great big blue wall. Just meet somebody and say, hey, I'd like to explore this. We'd love to help you because you were made to win by God. You were made to win. But we thought we'd spend the last 5 minutes that we have together actually practicing this. So don't worry, I'm not going to force you to do anything. It's not going to be freaky, but I think a lot of us just don't know how to pray. So I'm going to teach you, if you'd let me, as limited as I am, in the next 5 minutes, how maybe this week you could do this for 5 minutes every day and experience the peace of God. The Bible says, be still and know that I am God. So if you would trust me enough, I want to encourage you, just even watching online, just right now, just close your eyes. I promise I'm not going to make you stand up or point you out. I promise I'm not going to do any of that. Don't worry. You're going to be right where you are. But I want you just to start by taking a deep breath in. I just want you to feel the peace that's in this space right now. Now I want you to think about that thing that you came in with that's weighing you down, that burden, that stress, that circumstance, that past failure, that mistake, the thing that they said about you, the thing that you did you wish you hadn't said. I want you just to say, God, forgive me for my part. And help me. Help me to be who you created me to be. Show me what that is. Just listen for a minute. Listen to the thoughts that are going through your mind, the things that you know you're supposed to do. Let the words that are forming there actually be whispered in this moment. And breathe. And then in one last moment, just simply ask a clarifying, defining question. Just say, God, could you help me be who I am supposed to be? I trust you with everything else, but just help me to be who I am supposed to be. And listen to those words, even though some of them are going to be hard. You're going to feel a conviction to do something. Whatever it is in this moment, just be aware of it. For that's his voice. And breathe. And so Jesus taught us to pray, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread. Please take care of the needs that I've carried into this place. And would you forgive me for the times that I have failed, as I am learning to the best of my ability with your help to forgive those who have hurt me. And would you help me to stay away from those things, those temptations that keep sucking me into the gutter. God, lead me not into temptation, but deliver me from the evil one. Those thoughts, those attitudes that are killing me. For yours is the kingdom. Yours is the power. Yours is the glory, forever and ever. Amen. And so today, I bless you with the reality that the peace you feel right now is actually available to you every moment of every day. If you're willing to pray the way Jesus taught us, you can experience this peace. And so as you go today, I bless you with the powerful truth that there is a mechanism for rest. It's found in prayer. And simply acknowledging, God, you're the source, I'm going to trust you. In acknowledging your own limitation and asking for forgiveness. And in living fully in your purpose, regardless of the circumstances. So may you go and change your world. May you live in the power and presence of a Father who created you and loved you. May you learn to hear his voice, for he is always speaking. Pause and know that voice. I bless you in the name of the Father, in the name of the Son, in the name of the Holy Spirit. Amen.